Before we begin tonight's story, make sure you hit subscribe. Trust me, you'll want to stay close when the lights go out.
I still remember that morning. The sun was bright, the air smelled clean, and my daughter Emma was singing in the car. She was only 12, full of life, full of stories. I had promised her a small trip after her school exams, just a quiet weekend in the hills, away from city noise. We packed some snacks, a small tent, and her favorite camera. I thought it would be fun to show her how to camp, to make a fire, to watch stars. I didn't know that trip would become a nightmare that would never leave my mind. The road climbed higher, twisting through green valleys and empty turns. Sometimes I slowed down to enjoy the view. Emma took photos from the window, trees, birds, and the empty road ahead. After a while, the signal on my phone disappeared. I laughed and told her, "Looks like we're out of the world now." She giggled. "Good. No homework, no Wi-Fi, no noise." By evening, we reached a small rest area near the top. A wooden sign stood near the road, half broken, covered with old paint. It said, "Raven Hill, 2 miles ahead." I had read about that place online. It was quiet, not very touristy, perfect for camping. But there were also old stories, something about missing hikers. I ignored that part. People love to make up ghost stories in small towns. We parked near a cliff that opened into a beautiful valley. The sun was setting, painting everything orange. Emma ran toward the edge, holding her camera. "Don't go too close," I shouted. She laughed. "Dad, I'm fine." I smiled. I wanted her to enjoy this trip. For once, life felt peaceful. We found an old wooden cabin near the forest edge. It looked abandoned, but safe enough to stay for the night. The roof was half broken, but the door could lock. I told Emma we'd set up the tent inside, safer than sleeping outside. While I unpacked, she looked around. "Someone used to live here," she said, pointing to old toys on a shelf, a small teddy bear, a wooden car, and a dusty picture frame. The photo was of a man and 2 kids, smiling in front of the same cabin. I said, "It's old, maybe a family from long ago." We made a small fire outside and roasted marshmallows. The air was cold, and the night sky looked beautiful. For a moment, everything was perfect. Then, from the dark forest, came a sound, a long, low whistle. I looked up. Emma froze. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. I nodded. "Probably the wind." But I knew it wasn't. The sound was too sharp, too human. I stood up, staring into the trees. "Stay near the fire," I said softly. The whistle came again, this time closer. From between the trees, a man appeared. His clothes were dirty, his hair long and tangled. He walked slowly, holding something in his hand, a hunting knife. "Evening," he said, with a rough voice. "Didn't mean to scare you." I stepped forward a little, trying to look calm. "Evening. We're just camping for the night." He smiled, showing yellow teeth. "Not many come up here anymore. Bad place. Bad people." Emma moved closer to me. I could feel her shaking. "We'll leave in the morning," I said quickly. He stared at Emma for a second too long. "You should. The hills don't like children." Then he turned and walked back into the dark. We stood silent for a while. I locked the cabin door and pushed a chair against it. Emma couldn't sleep, and to be honest, neither could I. Every little noise outside sounded like footsteps. Around midnight, I heard something scraping the wall. Slow, dragging sounds. I held my breath and picked up the small camping knife from my bag. I looked out the window. For a second, I saw movement, a shadow moving between trees, and then that same whistle again. This time, it was right outside. By morning, we packed fast. I told Emma we'd head back early. She didn't argue. She looked pale, tired. As we drove down, I saw a police car parked near a closed road sign. I stopped and asked the officer if everything was fine. He said, "You two shouldn't be up there. 3 kids went missing from that area last month." I felt cold. "Missing?" "Yeah," he nodded. "We think some sick man's living in those woods. Locals call him the Hunter. He targets families who camp alone. Never been caught." I looked at Emma, sitting quietly in the car. She didn't say a word, but her eyes said everything. We drove again, but the road ahead was blocked by a fallen tree. I tried to reverse, but the rear tire slipped into a ditch. The car wouldn't move. That's when I saw something carved on the tree trunk near the road. "Welcome back." The letters were fresh, cut deep into the bark. Emma started to cry softly. I held her hand. "It's okay, sweetheart. We'll walk down. It's not far." We grabbed our bags and started down the narrow path through the woods. The silence was heavy. Even the birds were gone. After 10 minutes, I heard it again. That same whistle. Distant, but clear. Emma stopped. "Dad, he's following us!" I didn't answer. I knew she was right. We moved faster. The path was slippery, covered with wet leaves. I kept turning back, but the trees all looked the same. I couldn't tell if someone was behind us or not. Suddenly, Emma screamed. I turned. Her leg was caught in a rope snare hidden under the leaves. "Hold still," I shouted. I cut the rope with my knife and pulled her out. Her ankle was bleeding. Then I saw something hanging from a branch. A small shoe. It looked old, dirty, but definitely a child's. Under it, written on a rock in red paint, or maybe blood, were the words, "She belongs to the hill." Emma clung to me, shaking. "Dad, please, I want to go home." I picked her up and walked as fast as I could. My mind was racing. Whoever this killer was, he knew the forest better than anyone. We were in his territory. After an hour of walking, I found an old path leading into what looked like an abandoned mine. I decided to hide there until I could figure out where the main road was. Inside, it was dark and cold. The air smelled of rust and wet stone. I set down Emma and checked her ankle. It wasn't broken, just cut. We sat quietly, listening. For a few minutes, nothing. Then, footsteps. They were slow, heavy, and coming closer. "Dad?" Emma whispered. "Shh." The sound stopped right outside the mine entrance. Then came that whistle, long and chilling. I held Emma close. The shadow of a man appeared against the light outside. He was standing there, waiting. Then he said softly, "You shouldn't have come back." I held my knife tight, heart pounding.
Emma started to sob, trying not to make a sound. The man laughed, a low, horrible laugh, and walked away. Or maybe he didn't. I couldn't tell. The echo of his boots mixed with the sound of the dripping water until I couldn't know if he was gone or still there. We waited till evening before stepping out. The forest looked darker than before. Fog rolled in from the hills, and everything felt wrong, like the world had shrunk around us. I tried to find the road again using my compass, but it kept spinning like it was broken. Dad, are we lost? I didn't want to lie. Yes, but we'll find a way out, I promise. Then I saw smoke rising between the trees, a small fire. Maybe someone else was camping there. Maybe help. I carried Emma toward it. As we got closer, I realized the smoke came from the same cabin we stayed in the night before. The door was open and something was moving inside. I whispered, "Stay behind me." I stepped inside and froze. On the wall, with red paint, someone had written, "The hunt begins at night." Below that, on the table, were 3 photos of children. Their faces were scratched out, and next to those 3 photos was a 4th one. It was of me and Emma, taken from outside the cabin window the night before.
My hand started to shake when I saw that picture of us on the table. Someone had taken it while we were inside the cabin. Someone had been watching us all night. I tore the photo in half and grabbed Emma's hand. "We have to go now," I said. She looked pale, her lips trembling. "Dad, is he coming?" I didn't answer. I just pulled her outside. The forest was dark again and fog was covering the trees like a moving wall. I could barely see the road. Somewhere behind us, that whistle started again, long, slow, and broken. Emma began to cry. "He's close!" I picked her up and ran. The cold air cut my throat. Branches hit my face, but I didn't care. All I wanted was to get her out of those cursed hills. After some time, I couldn't hear the whistle anymore. Maybe we'd lost him. I stopped near a stream to catch my breath. Emma's face was white, her ankles swollen. "Dad, I can't walk much," she said softly. I nodded. "We'll rest here a minute, okay?" She nodded and leaned against me. I looked around. The fog was lifting slightly. Then I noticed something across the stream. Small shapes hanging from tree branches. At first I thought they were wind chimes, but when I looked closer, my heart froze. They were toys, dolls, stuffed animals, tiny shoes, all tied with ropes and swinging gently in the breeze. Each one had something written on it with black paint. One word repeated again and again. Mine. I felt sick. I picked up Emma again. "Don't look. Let's go." But as we turned, a voice echoed through the trees, soft, deep, and too close. "You can't take what belongs to me." He stepped out of the fog like he'd grown from it. The same man from last night, tall, filthy, with cuts on his face and those yellow teeth showing through a crooked smile. He held a hunting knife in one hand, a rope in the other. "Put her down. She's mine now." I felt something inside me snap. "You stay away from my daughter." He grinned. "You people come up here with your little tents and cameras. You don't know this place. You don't know me." I took a step back, keeping Emma behind me. "You don't have to do this, please." He tilted his head, like listening to something only he could hear. "They said I should feed the hill. They said it's hungry." I swung the knife I had, small, weak compared to his, but I managed to cut his arm. He screamed, dropping the rope. Emma ran behind a tree. I tried to fight, but he was stronger. He hit me in the chest with his shoulder, knocking me to the ground. My knife fell into the dirt. He raised his blade to strike, and then a loud crack echoed through the woods. A gunshot. The killer dropped his knife and stumbled back, clutching his shoulder. A man in a police jacket appeared through the fog, holding a shotgun. "Stay down!" he shouted. It was the same officer I'd met that morning. The killer turned and disappeared into the trees, blood dripping behind him. The sheriff ran after him for a few meters, then stopped. The forest had gone silent again. He came back, breathing hard. He knows these woods too well. We'll never catch him in this light. I held Emma close, shaking. "Who is he?" The sheriff looked tired. "We've been after him for years. Locals call him the Hunter. He used to work in the mines up here. After his family died in a fire, he went mad. Started believing the hills talk to him, tell him to take children." Emma buried her face in my chest. I could feel her tears soaking my shirt. The sheriff helped us walk back toward the road. He kept his gun ready, eyes scanning the trees. But as we walked, I saw something that made my stomach twist. On the trunks around us, in red paint, were fresh words. "You can't leave." It was too far to walk down before dark, and the sheriff's radio wasn't working. He said we'd stay in the cabin until morning, when backup arrived. I didn't want to go back there, but there was no choice. Inside, the fire was still burning low, like someone had just been there. The sheriff checked every corner and nailed the door shut from the inside. He sat by the window, watching the forest with his shotgun ready. "Try to sleep," he said. "I'll keep watch." Emma lay down next to me on the floor. Her breathing was soft, her face pale but calm. She fell asleep quickly, too exhausted to be afraid anymore. But I couldn't close my eyes. I kept seeing that man's face, his knife, the madness in his eyes. Around midnight, something hit the cabin wall. Once, twice. Then silence. The sheriff stood up quietly and aimed his gun at the door. "He's here," he whispered. We both listened. Then came that sound, the same whistle, but this time it was everywhere. From the window, from behind the cabin, from the roof. The sheriff whispered, "He's not alone." The window shattered. A shape jumped in, dirty, wild, covered in mud. Another man. His face was burned, one eye missing. The sheriff fired once. The blast shook the room. The intruder fell, but another came through the door, breaking it open. I grabbed Emma and ran toward the back. The sheriff kept firing, shouting for me to go. I kicked open a small back door and pushed Emma outside. We ran into the woods again, the gunshots echoing behind us. I didn't look back. I couldn't. After a few minutes, we reached the old mine again. I hid Emma in a narrow tunnel and told her, "Don't move, no matter what you hear." Then I went back out. I could hear the whistle again, closer now. I picked up a sharp piece of metal from the ground, ready to fight if I had to. The killer came limping through the fog, blood on his arm where the sheriff had shot him. He looked more like an animal than a man. "You took them from me. Now I'll take her." He swung his knife. I ducked and hit him with the metal rod. He fell to his knees, but grabbed my leg and pulled me down. We rolled in the dirt, hitting, clawing, choking. He pressed the knife against my throat. "She belongs here." I grabbed a rock and smashed it against his head. Once, twice. He fell back, gasping. The knife dropped beside me.
I picked it up and stood, shaking all over. He looked up at me, bleeding, smiling. "The hill will never let you go." Then he stopped moving. I stood there for a long time, breathing hard, staring at his body. Then I heard Emma calling from inside the mine. "Dad? Are you okay?" I dropped the knife and ran to her. "It's over," I whispered, holding her tight. "It's finally over."
When the sun came up, the fog cleared. The sheriff found us near the road, his arm bleeding but alive. Backup arrived soon after. They took the killer's body from the mine, but when the police came back later that day to search again, it was gone. Just blood. No body. They said maybe animals dragged him away, but deep inside I knew better. Epilogue. Weeks later, back in the city, Emma still wakes up from nightmares. Sometimes she says she hears whistling in her dreams. We never went camping again. The hills of Raven Misso still appear in my mind whenever the wind blows through trees. Sometimes I look out of our apartment window at night, and for a second, I think I hear it again. A long, broken whistle somewhere far away. And I remember his last words. "The hill will never let you go."
Kindly subscribe the channel and comment if you liked the video. Thanks for watching.